Learning, and we are here live with another episode of the podcast coming in within a couple of moments. I hope you guys are having a beautiful start to your weekend. Happy weekend to all the girls on this side of the world, UK, Canada, US, anyway, all that. Happy Friday. I hope you're having a beautiful start to the day. We're going to be kicking start this live in 1 minute, and we're going to be talking about the 5 things that you are doing wrong. This is going to be a short live, and I'm going to just give you the value straight up. So if you're coming into this one live, get down into the comments and let us know. I see you guys on Instagram coming in. I love it. April, Leslie, Method Fitness, Leon, how you going? At Brad Sparks Rocks joins. What's going on, guys? I hope you're good. We are kicking off in 30 seconds, so get down in the comments. Let us know you're here. And we're going to be doing this right off. G'day, guys. Look at all these crew. So good. We've got some team in here from YouTube as well. I love it. Hello, Tez. Hello, Shawnee. All right, guys. So I'm just going to get stuck straight into this. Let's do it. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the diets and dumb diets I'm talking about, unsustainable workout programs. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the 5 things that you are doing wrong and the reason that you're failing at weight loss. Now, this is not going to be an episode that's going to talk about specifics of nutrition and training and sleep and all that type of stuff. I'm going to give you the context for what this episode is about. I've just got off a call with my best male clients. We have a program called our Mastermind program, and the Mastermind program is the guys that have already got some really good success in our base level program and then want to excel their lives on the highest level, because at the end of the day, the reason that you're not where you want to be is because of what's going on between your 2 ears. So I asked the question to these gentlemen. I said, okay, what is it that you think, what's your observations about what inside of our program, the guys and girls that are struggling are doing or not doing, which is impacting their results? So sometimes as a coach, I feel that you can get a bit out of touch or a little bit blind to what the actual real struggles are. So I thought what I'll do is just ask my best clients, what are you guys doing that these guys aren't doing? Now, if you're in our women's mastermind program, then I think you should definitely contribute, because this will probably help the girls in the group be able to understand maybe where they're making it wrong. So I got 5 answers come back, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So let's just get straight to it. Number 1 is that you keep breaking trust with yourself because you're inconsistent. And this consistency thing is something that the guys that are excelling in anything in their life, whether they're making money, they've got great relationships with their kids, with their partners, whether they're making progress in their fitness transformation, one thing they've got is consistency. And they value consistency over intensity. So many of us want to go to the gym 7 times a week, but then we can't get to the gym 7 times a week, and what happens? We start to feel that sense of failure, right? We start to feel like, oh my God, I just tried, and because I couldn't meet these lofty expectations, now I feel like a dick as a result. So I want to ask yourself, as we're going through these 5 things, I want you to ask yourself, is this a struggle for you? Do you struggle to be consistent? And is it because partially you're trying to be too intense, too aggressive? It's like you're so desperate to lose the weight that you're willing to compromise the sustainability. Like, you can't train 7 days a week and you can't be consistent at a certain amount of calories if there's not some sort of kind of long-term plan here, a long-term goal to stay the course. Now, again, I'm just going to remind you guys that this is not my observations. This is the observations coming from our OGs inside our transformation program. One of the things that they're noticing is that you're inconsistent. Now, what's the problem with inconsistency? I'll tell you straight away. If you are inconsistent, this means that you're not meeting your own expectations of what you say you're going to do. And the problem with that is that it's like you're breaking trust with yourself. If you keep saying that you're going to train 5 days a week, but you don't, it's not the issue that you're not training 5 days a week that's the problem, is that you keep saying you're going to do something and you keep breaking trust with yourself whilst doing it. This is horrendous. For all of those of you that are in a relationship, I want you to ask yourself the question, what would happen if you kept coming home to your partner and they kept saying they're going to do something? I'll have dinner ready for you, or I'll take the rubbish out. And they say it and they don't do it. You might wear it once, you might wear it twice, but eventually it gets to the point where you're just like, this is just shit talk. This person, my partner, words just flop out of their mouth, but they have no value. So number one is consistency. You gotta be consistent at the expense of being intense. Just chill out a little bit. Start showing up as opposed to kind of trying to do too much too soon. Number two, I think this is great insight, and this comes from Dan Williams. Dan Williams has been in our academy for, 3 years. This is his second round at the mastermind. And what Dan said is, I noticed something that's very clear to me. There is so many people that are saying, I have to do this. I have to track my nutrition. I have to go to the gym. I have to do 10,000 steps. I have to show up in the group. I have to. No one's forcing you to do it. You don't have to do anything. You're your own man or woman. Stop telling people that you have to do things. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. It's a free world. No one's going to arrest you for not entering your MyFitnessPal. If you're making a choice, this is a perception. I get to do this. Now, what's the value in shifting that frame? What's the actual value at all? Well, when you shift the frame to saying, I get to do this, it's my choice to do this, no one's forcing me to do it, you are taking absolute ownership over it yourself. You don't feel like you're begrudgingly having to go to the gym because someone is telling you to do it. You're doing it for your interests. So if you don't do it, that's also for your disinterest. Does this make sense, guys? How would the tables turn if you stopped saying, oh my God, I have to eat healthy, and you started saying, well, if I'm going to work this much, if I'm going to eat, if I'm going to spend money on food, if I'm going to spend money on a gym membership, I'm going to do it because that's my choice, not because someone told me to do it. The moment you take responsibility for everything in your life, everything changes. Now, I'm not saying for a moment that things are fair. You know what? Let's speak a fucking truth here. What's actually true is that life is very unfair. Some people just draw the short straw, and you might be one of them. You might be the one that got abused as a kid. You might be the one that suffered some accident or disease as an adult. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. But equally, once we move from what's fair and what's not, what's next? And what's next is you have to take responsibility for your life. As unfair as it is, it's your life. And you taking accountability and saying, well, whatever I decide to take on, that's my perception to take that on. That's my choice. And when you switch the way that you look at the world, all of a sudden you're not doing something to try to impress your coach or anyone else. You're doing something because you chose to do it. Number 3 is a willingness to fail. I love this one because a lot of guys, what they do is they join a transformation program, they try to be perfect, and the moment they're not perfect, what happens? They fall off. They suffer a whole lot of guilt and shame. And I believe that guilt and shame are the most paralyzing emotions a man or woman can typically feel. You know what? There is people, listen up, and hopefully I'm hitting a couple of people here who are feeling this exactly. They've considered leaving our program. And the reason that they're considering leaving the program is not because they want to leave the program. They don't want to leave the program. They know that leaving the program will actually be detrimental to the results. But they're sick of feeling like a failure comparing to everyone else. Everyone else seems to be doing really well with their weight loss. Everyone else seems to be able to get to the gym, but I can't. Everyone else seems to be able to do this, but what's wrong with me? And the moment that you have that comparison analysis, what ends up happening? It brings upon you feelings of guilt and shame. But what you're not seeing is all of the pains that that person's going through, but just not advertising them on social media. Maybe you're only seeing the best side of them, the side that they choose to pop up. And so if you're just like constantly being worried about what people might think of you if you fuck it up, and I'm just going to put my hand up and say, I know exactly what that feels like. This is the reason why I didn't do a marathon for 20 years, is because I was just scared. I was really, really scared of what would happen if the coach said that he was going to do something and then he ended up failing and couldn't do it and fell over before the finish line. I was embarrassed of what you guys might think of me. Here's this guy speaking on all the social medias on a podcast, acting like he really is a fucking leader, but at the end of the day, he didn't follow through. So it was easier for me to deny that I didn't want to do it. In the fair, it wasn't important to me. Fucking yes, it was important to me. It was important to me because on the other side of this fear that I had was freedom. Freedom from being shackled all the time in my life. So once I cottoned on to the fact that the reason I hadn't done a marathon was because I was scared. I was scared of the judgment. I wasn't scared of doing the marathon. I was scared of the judgment. That's when I realized that I had to do it. And you're in the same boat, no doubt. If you're just not doing it because you're scared of failing, do you know what? What's going to happen is you're going to get to 80 years old and look back and just realize you lived the vast majority of your life trying to please other people, trying to show up how other people wanted you to show up. And my bet is that doesn't make you happy. So what we've said so far is a lack of consistency. The perception is wrong. I have to do these things. When you don't, you get to. You've got a fear of failure. Number 4 is you're treating your transformation as a fat loss program. You know when the people join the Biggest Loser program, right? They join the Biggest Loser, they sign up, or they join a Anytime Fitness or Next Gen Challenge, and they sign up and they think to themselves, I'm going to lose as much fat as I can or as much weight as I can in the next 6 weeks. And then the 6 weeks ends, they stop starving themselves, and they go exactly back to where they started. So why even do it in the first place? What's the point? What our A-grade clients in our mastermind have noticed is that the guys that are struggling are seeing this as a program. They are not seeing it as an opportunity to change the way they live. Now, I'll give you an example of this so you can understand the difference, okay? So let's talk about your kids, right? If it's Friday night or Saturday night and you guys go out and you have, family goes and has takeaway, right? And you decide not to have takeaway. That's a good decision in itself. But a great decision would be, hey, I actually decided that as the parent in my family, what I'm going to do is take my kids and my family to something somewhat healthy for dinner. This is a lifestyle shift. You're doing something not because you're in a program that's going to end in 6 months or 6 weeks' time. You're doing it because you've realized that as the leader of your family, you set the tone for your family. Your kids are going to eat exactly how you do. So if you don't share the same habits as them, why would it change? Let's talk about a different example. Let's just pretend you're in a fat loss program. Your attitude's, I need to lose as much weight as possible. Well, then what are you going to do? You're going to try to go to the gym and do endless amounts of cardio. You're going to overexert yourself. You're going to overwhelm yourself. And how does that always end up? Don't pretend you don't know, because it's the reason that you've always ended up the same. It's because you take on too much because you're trying to get this really quick result in a short period of time. There's nothing wrong with wanting quick results. Just FYI, there's nothing wrong with wanting quick results, but not quick at the expense of sustainability. If it means that you're going to lose 20 kilos in 6 weeks, but then put back 30 kilos on as soon as you stop starving yourself, like what is the point in doing this? What you'd be far better to do is approach this with a lifestyle approach. The lifestyle approach would look like this. You fill out your game plan form when the coaches ask you how long you want to train for, how many days a week. And instead of saying I want to train 7 days a week, you say, well, at the moment, I've sat on my ass for the last 5 years, so I might try to train 2 days a week. Yeah, 2 days a week after spending 5 years doing nothing? Do you think that would be a win? That would be a huge win. And so your goal should be not to stress yourself. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try something different this time around. I'm going to let go of the shiny object, and instead what I'm going to do is slowly start to transform my life. This is just a completely different approach. Because in this approach, you don't worry if you have a shitty day of nutrition because you got your rest of your life to correct it, right? You don't worry if you feel this sense of guilt about missing a training session because guess what? There's tomorrow. This is the lifestyle transformation. Guys, stop jumping from fat loss program to fat loss program to fat loss program with binges in between, and instead just draw a line in the sand. Draw a line in the sand and say, you know what? I'm going to stop doing the same thing and expecting a different result. I'm going to completely change things. I'm going to take a modest approach. And then I'm going to take one that's sustainable over the long term. Final thing that I've got for you is that the guys that are successful, they show up regardless of the conditions. Now, this goes a little bit in hand with the feeling of failure and the guilt and shame. One of the boys in the mastermind openly said, I stopped showing up. Because he stopped showing up, and the reason that he stopped showing up was because he felt like he wasn't progressing. Because he felt like he wasn't progressing, he felt a whole lot of guilt and shame about it, like embarrassment that everyone else is doing well, but I'm not. So instead of continuing to show up, what did he do? He stopped. He stopped showing up. He stopped joining the calls. He stopped doing his check-ins. He stopped answering questions from coaches. What happens as a consequence of that? You go backwards at a rate of knots. Look, all you guys think that the sign of what you need is more information, right? I get it. If you're new to the game and you're kind of understanding of nutrition and training principles, how to think better, how to change your lifestyle, if it's just not very progressed yet, yes, you do need some information. But actually the thing you need far more than the information is the implementation. All you guys that are watching our stuff that are external to our group, the one thing that you don't get, that you do get when you're in Better Body Academy is accountability. But the accountability has to start by you being accountable. Whether I'm an in-person trainer or an online trainer, I can't drive around to your house and knock on your door and make you accountable. It's not about being perfect, team. It's just about continuing to show up. That's it. Now, this is great. I'm actually going to display this comment, and I know he won't mind. This is one of my favorite clients of all time that is now no longer in our program. Rog, I hope you're well, my brother. Great video, Jace. I left as I was failing too many times and too embarrassed to be around winners. There it is for you, displayed on your screen without prompting. How many of you are in this situation? You're dropping out of life because you're embarrassed about how you feel compared to everyone else. The irony of this is that this very man, Rog, who I dearly love, everyone actually viewed him as an inspiration. Rog is in his 60s, Shout out to you, Rog. I'm sure a few of the people watching might remember you. Rog was in his 60s, and he was still on the game of trying to make himself healthy when most 60-year-olds have naturally given up. So actually the irony of this is he felt like a failure, but everyone saw him as an inspiration. Like, get that through your minds, guys. The moment you stop playing comparison games, look, you're always going to have that initial like, I'm not doing as well as this person. I don't think that you can ever get rid of that. That's like, there's a bit of competitiveness. That's a natural urge. But then you've got to step back from that and ask yourself, well, where am I in my journey compared to this guy or girl, number one? And number two, what part of this story am I not seeing? What part of this story am I not seeing? You can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Hey, guys, I get it, right? I do the same thing with myself and other online coaches. I compare against them. But then when my consciousness kicks in and says, what value are you getting? So here's what I do. When I find someone that inspires me and is doing better than me in life, objectively doing better than me in life in a certain aspect, success leaves cues. One of the best things that you could possibly do in your life is identify the people that are winning in a certain area, whatever that area be. You might have a couple that you know that are like their relationship from what you observe, and it's only what you observe, is really, really, man, I'd love that type of a relationship. Or they might have a lot of money, or they might have fantastic health. Well, guess what? Rather than just like comparing to them and like making yourself feel shit as a consequence, what you want to do is look at the clues that their success is leaving. What can you learn from them? What can you model from them? Ultimately, this is how I got into coaching, guys, right? I asked myself, I'm really shit at a lot of things. Saving money, being reactive at times, cardio, but I'm really good at teaching people how to eat, and I'm extremely good at telling people how to lift weights properly. I'll make a program around this. You can do the exact same thing. For whatever you want to change in your life, find someone who is doing it and model them. Don't compare against them. Get to know them. Reach out to them. And guess what happens? You start to change your life too because you get the clues. Guys, I'm going to recap. These are the 5 things that my mastermind clients told me they observe in the people that are struggling, not doing, not being consistent. They're having a I have to attitude, not I get to do this, this is my choice attitude. They're not willing to fail. They're not willing to be a little bit embarrassed. They're too worried about saving face. They're looking at this as a fat loss program, not a lifestyle transformation. And then finally, when they start feeling that guilt, they just stop showing up, as opposed to raising their hand and saying, hey guys, I'm struggling, but this is the first step. I'm here. I'm turning up. I'm being accountable, even though I'm not perfect. Hopefully this has been helpful to you guys on your either Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. Really appreciate you coming in, sucking up some of the content. Please, guys, if you're getting value on this, you can search the Better Body Academy podcast on all of the places that you'll find podcasts. Give us a rating, share on your stories, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.